When my son gently brought up the idea of moving me into a nursing home, he said it with love. He spoke slowly, like someone walking through a minefield, trying not to step on anything that might explode. And he wasn't wrong to suggest it. After all, I was over 70, living alone, with my memory not as sharp as it used to be, and my joints giving subtle warnings. He told me it was for my safety, that in a nursing home, someone would always be there. I wouldn't have to cook. I wouldn't be alone. I wouldn't be at risk. I smiled, and I said no. Not because I was angry, not because I didn't love him, but because I knew, deep down, that what I needed wasn't a bed, or 3 meals, or someone to make sure I didn't fall in the shower. What I needed was to feel alive, to be home, to walk barefoot on my kitchen floor, to sit in my old chair where the sun hits at just the right angle every morning, to hear the sound of my own silence, the kind you only find in your own space. You see, I wasn't afraid of getting older. I was afraid of fading, and in many nursing homes, even the best ones, people fade. Not all of them, not immediately, but slowly, quietly, like leaves in autumn, turning dull before they fall. They stop deciding, they stop choosing, they stop owning their life. I wasn't ready for that. I didn't want someone else to decide what time I wake up, what activities I should enjoy, or whether it's too late in the day to take a walk. I didn't want to be one name on a clipboard in a hallway lined with identical doors. I wanted to still be me, messy, stubborn, independent. It wasn't just about comfort, it was about dignity. It was about the last chapters of my life still being mine to write. So yes, I said no. And that choice, simple as it sounds, changed everything. After saying no to the nursing home, I didn't just sit around and wait for life to happen. I made a choice, an active, conscious one, to build something better for myself. Not bigger, not louder, just more mine. I moved into a smaller house, not because I had to downsize, but because I wanted something I could manage with my own 2 hands. It's tucked at the edge of a quiet neighborhood, just a short walk from a small park where the trees whisper things only the wind understands. My mornings start not with nurses knocking on the door, but with the smell of coffee I brew myself. I put on music from the 60s and 70s, the kind that makes you remember dances you thought you'd forgotten, and I move slowly through the rhythm of the day. I water my plants. I talk to the cat I rescued. I sit on the front porch with a warm blanket and a curious heart. And you know what? I'm not lonely, because I filled my life with presence, not people, with meaning, not noise. I made new friends, not in big groups, but through slow conversations at the local market or while feeding birds at the park bench. I wrote letters again, yes, the old-fashioned kind, and mailed them to people I hadn't spoken to in years. Some wrote back, some didn't. But it didn't matter. I was reaching out, not retreating. I chose to keep cooking, even if it's just for one. Because chopping vegetables and stirring soup remind me I'm still capable. Still creative, still little rituals. A walk at 7 a.m., tea at 3, reading poetry before bed, not because someone told me to, but because I chose to. This life, it isn't perfect. Some days are quiet in a way that feels a little too heavy. Some nights I do miss the sound of other footsteps. But I'm living on my own terms, and that's a kind of joy no one can hand to you. You have to grow it from the inside. This isn't just about avoiding a nursing home. It's about not outsourcing your aliveness. It's about not giving away your choices, even the small ones, just because you've turned a certain age. I may have wrinkles and aches, but every morning when I make my own tea, I'm reminded I still get to decide how I live. People often ask me, but how do you stay healthy living alone? There's always a hint of concern in their voice, as if independence somehow means recklessness at my age. But the truth is, I've never taken better care of myself. Not because someone told me to, but because I finally started listening to the quiet wisdom of my own body. Let me be honest, I don't follow any magical diet. I don't count every calorie or chase the latest trend in superfoods. But I eat with respect. I respect my body enough to give it color on the plate. greens, oranges, purples. I make soups that simmer for hours, filled with roots and spices that feel like comfort and medicine at once. I bake bread sometimes, not because I need to, but because the smell of dough rising reminds me of my mother's kitchen. And I eat slowly, not just for digestion, but for appreciation. I set the table for one, light a candle, and sit down as if I were dining with an old friend. Because I am myself. I've also learned to move gently but often. No, I don't run marathons, but I stretch in the morning, letting each joint wake up without rush. I take long walks, sometimes to the park, sometimes just to the mailbox and back, and I greet the world around me like an old neighbor I haven't seen in a while. I do chores like they're exercise, sweeping the floor, watering the garden, bending to reach the cupboard, because every movement is a small declaration. I'm still able. Staying healthy after 70 isn't about chasing youth. It's about tending to your vitality, like a flame you don't want to let go out. I sleep with care too. I've created a bedtime routine that tells my body, it's time to rest now. No harsh lighting, no late-night television shouting into the silence. Just a warm bath, soft music, maybe a page or two from a favorite book. And yes, I talk to God sometimes before I close my eyes. Not asking for anything. Just saying thank you for another quiet day. Of course, there are doctor visits, I take my pills, I listen when something feels off. But I've learned that health isn't just about what you fix, it's about what you nurture. Emotional peace, mental stillness, a sense of being in your life, not just surviving it. And maybe most importantly, I don't wait until I'm unwell to care. I care now, because this is my body, my home, my only real companion from beginning to end. It deserves to be loved, not pitied, not neglected, not handed over for someone else to manage. That's how I stay healthy, not perfectly, but honestly, gently, on my own terms. Joy doesn't always come wrapped in laughter. Sometimes it arrives quietly, like the steam rising from a morning cup of tea. And when you live alone in your 70s, joy becomes something you have to grow, like a garden that only blooms if you tend to it every single day. There are days when silence hangs heavy, when the phone doesn't ring, when the mailbox is empty, when everyone else seems busy with lives that no longer revolve around you. But I've learned something precious. Joy is not what happens to you, it's what you allow yourself to feel. So I started allowing myself to feel joy in the smallest, most ordinary things. In the morning light that spills across the kitchen table. In the way my cat curls up by the window, watching the birds as if it's a sacred ritual. In the radio playing an old love song that used to make me dance barefoot in the living room. I keep a small vase of flowers on the table. Always, even if they're just daisies from the corner shop, because beauty deserves a place, no matter how small the home. And I write letters, yes, actual letters, to old friends, to family, even to people who may never reply. Not to expect an answer, but to keep the thread of connection alive, even if only one way. I talk to neighbors when I water the plants. I smile at the mailman. I offer cookies to the little girl next door who reminds me of my granddaughter. And I laugh at myself, at old memories, at silly shows on TV that I've watched 100 times but still bring a smile. Joy isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just the feeling of clean sheets, the sound of rain, the memory of a song you once slow danced to in someone's arms. There was a time I thought I needed people around me all the time to feel alive. But now I realize what I needed most was presence, my own presence. To show up in my own life with gentleness. To savor the moment I'm in, without wishing it looked like something else. Even grief has a strange way of making room for joy. Because when you've lost, you know how sacred it is to still have something, even if it's just a quiet afternoon and a heart that's still beating. So no, I'm not lonely, not in the way people think, because I've filled my world with meaning, and I've made peace with the kind of joy that doesn't depend on company, but on consciousness. That, to me, is the purest kind of happiness. The kind that doesn't fade when the room is empty. The kind that doesn't wait for someone else to bring it. There were people, family, friends, even the kind nurse who used to check on me, who looked at my choice and gently shook their heads. They said I was being difficult, that I was making things harder for myself, that I should just accept help, like everyone else does at your age. They meant well, but they didn't understand. To them, independence looked like a burden. To me, it was freedom. Not the kind you shout about, but the quiet, everyday freedom of choosing what time to get out of bed, what tea to drink, what memories to sit with in the afternoon. They called me stubborn because I didn't follow the path they expected, because I didn't want to move into a place where someone else decided when I ate or whether I could go outside, because I chose solitude over supervision. But here's what they missed. I wasn't rejecting people. I was reclaiming myself. After a lifetime of working, raising children, saying yes to what was needed, I wanted for once to say yes to what I wanted. I wanted to live a life that still had texture, that wasn't flat and padded and risk-free like the halls of an institution. I didn't want to be managed. I wanted to be alive, fully, presently, wildly in my own way. Yes, it's harder. There's no one to remind me to take my pills, no one to carry the groceries if I buy too much, no one to notice if I stay in bed too long, but there's also no one to tell me what's appropriate for my age. No one to decide that I've had enough sun for one afternoon. No one to say that it's too late to plant tulips or write letters or learn a new recipe. I'm not stubborn. I'm still growing, even at 75, still choosing, still dreaming, still making small rebellions in a world that expects me to shrink. And maybe that's what aging should be. Not a soft descent into invisibility, but a bold return to your truest self. So when people say you're doing too much, I smile, because I know they don't see what I see. They see age as limitation. But I've come to see it as liberation. I've earned this right to live how I choose, and I will not apologize for that, because if being true to myself is being stubborn, then let them call me that. I'll wear it like a crown. If you're watching this and standing at that quiet crossroad, wondering whether to stay in your home or move into a place with more hands to help, let me pause with you there, because it's not an easy decision. And no one talks about how much grief there is in choosing. Grief for what you might lose, yes, but also grief for what you've already lost. Your energy, your spouse, your certainty. The house once filled with footsteps and now echoing with memory. I'm not here to tell you what to do. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, only a truth that's different for every heart, every body, every life story. But here's what I will say. Don't let fear decide for you. Let clarity decide. Let courage decide. Let love, not guilt or pressure, be the compass. If you feel safer in a community of care where someone checks on you, prepares your meals, and makes sure you're never alone, that's not giving up. That's honoring your needs. That's choosing peace. But if something in your soul says, not yet, I still have mornings I want to wake up to in my own bed, then trust that voice. That voice is sacred. It's your knowing. Ask yourself, where do I feel most like me? Where does my breath deepen, not tighten? What kind of life would make me proud, not just safe? Aging isn't just about surviving, it's about continuing to mean something to yourself. You don't have to explain your decision to anyone who doesn't feel the ache in your knees or the silence in your afternoons. You don't owe the world your obedience. You owe yourself your truth. Some people will say you're being impractical, that it's too much to handle alone, that it's safer to let someone else take over. But ask yourself this, is safety worth more than sovereignty? You are not selfish for wanting to wake up in your own rhythm. You are not irresponsible for craving a little wilderness in your routine. And you are not foolish for believing that your life, even now, is still yours to shape. If you choose to stay, know this, you're not alone. Not in spirit, not in strength, not in story. And if you choose care, let it be an act of self-love, not surrender. Whichever path you take it awake, take it with grace, take it as the author of your own story. Because even at 70 or 80 or beyond, you still get to hold the pen. Maybe this life I've chosen isn't the easiest. There are mornings when I wish someone had already made the tea, evenings when the silence stretches too long and memories knock louder than they should. But then I remember I'm still here, still walking these floors, still choosing what to wear, what to read, what to think, what to feel. And that is a kind of freedom I wouldn't trade for anything. I didn't choose this path to prove anything. I chose it because it felt true. Because deep down, we all want the same thing. Not just to be taken care of, but to be seen, to be respected, to be allowed to live our final chapters with the same dignity we spent a lifetime earning. We don't stop being human when we grow older. We don't stop needing beauty, meaning, surprise, or control. We don't stop wanting to feel useful, needed, and ourselves. And no matter what the world says about aging, no matter how many headlines warn of decline and dependence, you are not broken. You are not a burden. You are becoming. Each day, in your quiet rituals and simple bravery, you are showing the world that growing old doesn't mean growing small. So if you're still wondering, if you're still afraid that choosing for yourself is too bold at your age, let me remind you, you are still the author, still the artist, still the one who gets to decide what joy looks like, what freedom feels like, and what kind of life is worth waking up to. And if this story resonates with you, if somewhere deep down a voice in your heart whispered, "That's me too," then I invite you, leave a comment below. Tell me, what makes you feel truly alive these days? What little things bring light into your mornings, warmth into your evenings? And if you haven't found that answer yet, stay with us. Because here at Golden Pathways, we walk this journey together, not to chase youth, but to honor life, every beautiful, fragile, and powerful bit of it. Don't forget to subscribe, not for the sake of a number, but because you belong to this gentle, quiet revolution of choosing joy, truth, and freedom, even now, especially now.